Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with a little something different. We're not doing a reaction video on this one. This one's going to be a long one, but this one's going to be more of a personal nature. This is going to be dealing with some of my issues and how I work through them. We're going to give some tips, because tips have been asked for. It's taken me a while to get to this because I wasn't sure how to approach this, because this is a very complicated topic when you're dealing with coming out of a depression or an addiction or any of those things. It is hard to do. And so it's hard to explain how to do. It's hard to explain how you get in there. It's hard to explain all of these things. And it has to be taken as a whole. So today, y'all are going to get the brief history of Pitt. This is going to be a very personal nature. We've talked about a lot of this stuff already. Some of it we probably haven't, and some of it, like, it's never been in one spot like this. So, but in order to talk about what just happened, we need to talk about where I was and how I got to where I'm at. All right. So, I am a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was 2, and my only happy memory of my parents together was the day I learned to walk. I learned to walk. I remember it. After that, they were not very compatible. Right. My dad, at the time, I didn't find this out until years later, but at the time, was running narcotics for a very prominent family out of New Orleans, and that's about all I'm going to say on that. But like, he was dealing with some unsavory types, right? At That's why my mom left, was because he would not give that up. So she left, and life got hard for her, and I was with her, and then she met my first stepdad, my brother's dad, and turns out that he was robbing banks. Like, we moved all over the place, and there was a reason for that. It's because he was robbing banks. He did it under the cover of being a guitar player, which he did really well. Like, he was a very good guitar player, but I guess it didn't pay well enough. And so I went to 5 different kindergartens. They split up. I believe it was my kindergarten year. It may have been my first grade year. I don't really remember, but I remember the day he left. He did the proverbial going for fucking milk, and that is real. Like, he got in the truck with all of my mama's money. She was at work. He left me and my brother there. Right? She was about to get home, and took all of her money and bounced out. He said he was going to the store. He'd be right back, and he took off. And we never saw him again. Last I heard about him, he was in prison for murder. After that, my mom was working in the bar rooms. She worked her ass off. She worked really hard, and as a kid, you don't appreciate that, but as an adult, you come to. And for me, it was just my family was never there. We were always at a babysitter, or we were at school, or like, we didn't see it like the same way as you do as an adult. And so for me, I felt abandoned. I felt alone, and I had insecurity issues. I had gone to 5 kindergartners. The first 4, I made friends. The 5th one, I said, fuck it, right? So by the time that happened, I was already sexually active. I had been molested. I do not remember the age that I was first molested, but I do know that my first consensual act of sex was at 5 years old. She was 4. It was her idea. And things progressed from there. Like, I was never sexually attracted to a child as a grown person. But when I was that age, I was very active with other people my age. And by the time I was 10, I had 10 partners. By the time I was 13, I had 15. And some of those were consensual and some of them were not, but I was never the aggressor in the unconsensual ones. Some of those were with men, some of those were with women, and it was a very weird time, right? I was unclear on anything. I was a kid. I need to back up because this plays into that. When my dad, who was in and out of prison, would get me, life would be focused around what pussy he could get, right? And he taught me that at a very young age, that it was all about the pussy, right? So I grew up steeped in a life of criminality, and life is about the pussy. The first time I got an ass whooping that I remember, right, was at my second birthday party. because my aunt gave me a piece of cake at my own birthday party, and she said, "Now what do you say?" And I said, "Hey baby, you want a foo-foo?" And I got my ass whooped. But that was the mentality that I grew up in. It was about sex. I don't remember a time when there was not a sexual element in my life, separate from the molestation, which just triggered something, or the consensual encounter at 5, which really triggered something. And so that began a lifelong sexual addiction, hardcore sexual addiction, and that caused a lot of my issues with depression over the years. Okay, now we're back to I was a predator and I was prey, right? I did things. I'm not proud of those things at all. I wish with all that I have in me that I had saved my soul for my wife. I really do. Because the sharing of your soul, which is what a sexual act is a very, very intimate thing, and it is important to you at an energy level. Every time you share your soul with someone, they carry you forever. You are carrying them forever. Every single person that you have ever laid with, you're carrying them. And so I've got a lot of baggage, right? Anyway, moving on. So after my second or my first stepdad left, my mom was a bartender, and she worked long hours. We were with the babysitter a lot. There was a lot of issues there. But at the same time, we were very, very fucking poor, right? Because Mama was working for tips in the 80s when the recession was big. Like, if you don't remember when Reagan first came into office, it was bad. It took years for Reagan to pull us out of the fucking hole. And then we got Democrats, and I'm not getting into that. So she was working for tips, and we didn't have a whole hell of a lot. We got picked on by the welfare kids. We got commodities, which is the equivalent of WIC now, but it was, you got a box of food. It's like, all right, here's your monthly dose. Now, it had to last you for a month, and sometimes it didn't. Right? And my dad was one of those people that, well, I ain't paying for a fucking fingernail, so there wasn't no child support when he was out of jail, which was not often. So from there, like, we got picked on a lot, right? We got picked on for being poor. I made good grades up through middle school. Like, I was straight A's and stuff, but I had all the sexual stuff. So, and then there was physical abuse. There was a lot of discipline involved. When her next major relationship was with this guy, Johnny. And Johnny was a cool cat until the wreck. Like, Mama got drunk, wrecked a car. She broke her arm. She had to wear one of those wire cages on her arm for a while. And Johnny wound up paralyzed. It was a rough time, but it made him mean. It made him really, really fucking mean. And so every time we would walk by, me and my little brother, every fucking time we walked by, in the back of the fucking head. Just for the fuck of it, just because we walked by. And so that really began a whole life of, all right, fuck this, right? And so when you're dealing with that kind of abuse, you learn a response. You learn how to deal with abuse. You learn how to avoid getting your ass beat. And so we got really, really good at that. That's a lot of what my personality is now, I think, was shaped in those years. Because I got really good at avoiding getting my ass beat. But it still happened, right? And there wasn't always a reason necessary. And so her and Johnny wound up splitting up, and then it was a few years, and then, like, she ran with the bikers for a while, and there was a lot of wild shit going for a while. And then she met up with my current stepdad, who was very strict. He was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, right? And they were very strict. Now, he did not follow Jehovah's Witnesses, but he very much kept in line with the morality aspect of that. And that clashed with me because I was not a good person already by the time I was 12 years old. And by the time I was 12 years old, I had been very unruly. My grades were slipping. I was of the opinion that if I lived it with my dad, then it would be fucking gravy and everything would be great. And so me and my brother were fighting a lot, and there was a whole lot of issues. And so I got kicked out. Basically, my mom went to my grandma, her mom first, and asked if I could go there. And she's like, no. And so she went to my dad's mom, and the next step would have been child services. And she went to my dad's mom, and my dad's mom was like, yeah. And so I went there at 12 years old. My dad got out of jail at 13, and I started working at 13. When he started working, building houses and stuff, I would go out there and work with him. I would go out there in the summer and on the weekends, and I would pull nails, and I would haul plywood, and I was doing things at 12 years old that grown men can't do now. By the time I was 13, 14 years old, I could run a crew and was left with a crew. They got mad because they'd have to ask me what to do. Full grown men asking this child what to do. Because I was by this point, I had decided to work, and so I was going to work. And when I'm in something, I'm in it. I'm very, very much in it. And if I'm not in it, then I'm not in it at all, right? But I decided that I was going to be a carpenter, right? That's what my dad was doing. That's what I was going to do. So I was out there pulling nails, and I was hauling plywood, and I was shingling, and I was pulling concrete and finishing concrete and all of this shit as a teenager. So I had the hustle in me. And then my dad got in a wreck, and his back got hurt, and so neither one of us was working. He got on pain pills, and then he got on crack, and then he got on all the stuffs again. And it was a very long, drawn-out process, right? But there was a lot of times that I wasn't sure if he was coming home, and there was a lot of times when I didn't really care because of the way things were going. And through all of that, I just felt alone. And that's the times when I ate the shotgun. This was when this happened. And between my girlfriend, who had just broke up with me, and I just thought, you know what? I'm supposed to kill myself. My cousin just did it. So I took a shotgun and I put it in my mouth and I pulled the fucking trigger 3 times on 3 separate shells, and God spared me. Don't think he'll do that for you every time. Don't think that. And I was like, I didn't see it like that then. And so I was like, oh, fuck, I can't even do this shit right. So I ate a whole box of fucking Benadryl and Tylenol. And all I got was fucking hallucinations and sick. But I gave up after that with the trying to kill myself. But I still had these anger issues. I still had this rage. Rage is the best way to describe it, because it's just a boiling mass of I want to hurt something. And I got kind of big. Between the time it was from 8th grade to 9th grade. Over that summer, I went from 4'8" to 5'10", and then I bulked out a good bit. And I've never been big, but when I went into the Navy, I was 193 at 5'10", which is not huge, right? But it's solid. And when I got out of the Navy, I was at 185, and really much more solid. And so I've never been like one of those bodybuilders where you can see definition stuff. I got man boobs and I got a little flap, but I'm still solid. And I like to hurt things. So I did. I hurt things for a while. I drank a lot. When I tell you I drank a lot, I was a sailor. And when they say sailors drink, cuss, and fight, they fucking mean it. But the Navy doesn't like that anymore. And so that's why I got kicked out. Because I didn't play well with other children. My captain told me that the day he kicked me out. He said, you don't play well with other children. I did my job. Well. But so well that the same captain that kicked me out gave me a letter of commendation. But they had to kick me out. I had a problem, and I wouldn't admit I had a problem. I was just fucking hurting people, and I was just fucking drinking, and I was just doing stupid shit. Because that's what kids do, especially kids that didn't have a fucking father figure, especially kids that didn't have any structure in their life whatsoever. And I didn't. I really didn't. I don't blame anybody. The way that I am now is the way that I needed to be, so that I could talk to y'all about shit like this. But I had the hustle built in, even though I didn't play well with other children, but I worked well. I got out of the Navy, I went into the plants, and I did good. I made good money, but it wasn't great money, right? Because you know where the great money's at? The great money's in the dope. So that's where I went. And like my dad had always run dope. I grew up in a dope culture between the bikers with my mom and my dad who dove into drugs. I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And so I started flipping stuff. I would take the weed I would get from the Suns and I would convert that into a resin substance, and I would trade that gram for gram for powder. Well, I was getting a discount on the weed. Like I was getting a quarter pound for like $80, and I was flipping it. Man, I was making so much money, like so much money. And then I started testing, right? And then I got into it, and I really liked it a lot because I liked the up. I liked the being productive. I liked the doing stuff. And man, you can do some stuff there. And so I got into it. I never got to the commitment level that would have been necessary to be great at it, right? I had the mindset. I was really good at the process. I could flip it. I could make it work. I didn't have the commitment to the ruthlessness that I needed. And I liked hurting people. I didn't really like killing people. Like that wasn't my gig. I didn't like that at all. And so I wound up getting out of that through my wife. Uh, I know this is getting long, and this is just me relating some shit so I can get to something later. But I need you to understand all of this plays together into it. Like whenever you do this kind of work, you have to realize where these things come from. You have to pull all the way back to that 2-year-old memory and everything, and you've got to sort through that trash. So, I met my wife, right? I had had several ruined relationships. I had had a whole lot of trust issues. It's one of my things. I really do have trust issues. I don't trust hardly anybody. I can count them easily. I can count them more easily than I can count sexual partners, and that's fucked up. But I met my wife. Oh, I was a karaoke DJ, and I mean, I had just like started fucking with the drugs, right? And like I was still in the plants, but I had just started fucking with the drugs, and then we dated and we broke up when I got into the dope. Like I ran her off before I really started doing that, and we got back together it was almost a year, where I was really, really rolling. And then I was still doing, I just wasn't selling anymore, right? She didn't know I was doing anything. But our relationship improved because cocaine makes you talk. And so I would talk a lot. I would talk like I'm talking now. This is not me normally. But normally I'm right. So I don't express things. I have this abusive past where I don't bring attention to myself in that way. And so she got pregnant and she started going to church with my mom, and she helped me get into the church. But what really changed my life, I was doing powder, and I got an 8-ball, right? And I hadn't paid the rent, I hadn't paid the lights, I hadn't paid the water. We're in this apartment in Zachary, Louisiana, and I went and I got a ball of powder, and I got my daughter with me. She's in the bouncy seat next to me, and I'm railing powder while she's in the bouncy seat. And I'm like, you know what? This is kind of fucked up. Like that is the point of realization for me. Like that was the point of change for me. That's when I decided, all right, I'm done with this shit. And so I was. That was it. The day before, like it was a Friday. I think my wife was at work. I was out of work. I was no longer flipping the powder, but I was doing the powder. But I was in and out of plants working at the time, and I was on unemployment, right? And I was riding it. I was on unemployment, not paying my fucking bills, doing powder with my child next to me, and then I stopped, and I started going to church with my wife, and then I met Jesus, right? And Jesus really helped me. Uh, we went to the Second Baptist in Zachary, and I did the salvation prayer after a couple of months, and I got my baptism, and I was really feeling changed. I felt that spiritual change, but the church drug me down. We went to that church for a couple of years, like probably 4 years. I think it was about 4 years we went there. And at first it was great because we didn't really, like, I had been raised in and out of several churches. I had been baptized a couple times before and had never felt what I felt. And it was a real spiritual experience that you can't replicate anywhere else. I can't tell you what that is. To feel the Holy Spirit fill you up is a whole thing. And so we went to these Sunday schools, and we were there 3 times a week, right? We were there for Sunday school. We were there for the weekly Wednesday thing. We were there for the church services. We were there for the Bible studies. We went for extra classes to learn how to be a Baptist. Like, I got a brick around here somewhere with a little plaque on it that says that we went through that course, and I had that fire, I had that fervor, and I wanted it. I wanted to serve. But nobody had any encouragement in that church. And here's the funny thing. Like, here's the really, really funny thing about Second Baptist Church. Now, I can't speak for a whole lot of other churches because it was really a sour experience towards the end. Because we would go to these meetings, right? We were fellowshipping. That's what it was called. We were to meet in fellowship, right? And we would get together and everybody would talk about work, or they would talk about sports, or they would talk about the weather. But if you brought up God or Jesus, everybody would walk away. Like, nobody would really commit to that. And that bothered the shit out of me. But my wife, she had it even worse, right? She's in this women's group. And, like, we went to the couple of Sunday school, but they had women's and men's, and, like, there was all kinds of stuff. And she's trying to talk to these women who had just had babies too, right? She had our daughter, and then she had our son. And with our son, she got postpartum. She had the postpartum depression. Like, I didn't know how to recognize it, much less help with it. But she went to the women in the church. She went to her sisters in the Lord. And she said, I'm not feeling right. I'm sad all the time. I need help. The church turned her back and acted like there was something wrong with her because she needed help. So that really soured me on the church, because it's one thing to do that to me, to turn your back on me when I want to talk to you about God, when I got questions and I want to talk. That's one thing. But when you turn your back on my wife, that's personal, right? It's a big deal. So when we left, we didn't go to church. Right? We stayed away from the church. And when they had come, I told them I don't like organized religion. And the pastor, Brother David, he was the officiant at my wedding. He said, we don't either. They kicked him out. They kicked him out, and the pastor that was there, like, he was the associate pastor, and both of them were gone by the time we left. One of them by his own problems, and the other one for trying to hold them accountable. Brother David was trying to hold them financially accountable, and they kicked him out. Anyway, so we came out here to Walker, right? Well, let's talk about how we got to Walker. At the church, somebody helped me get a job. I went to Honeywell. I started working for Honeywell International. Honeywell International. We were bottling refrigerant. I worked as a packaging operator. I was in the Teamsters Union. And I worked there for 4 years, and I blew my shoulder out. And this one right here. I was at work one night, and they had an equipment malfunction, and I'm an above and beyond type of person, so I yanked on them. I'm a big boy, so I was like, all right. I pulled on this side, and I yanked on this side, but I didn't quite have it pulled loose. And something, when I yanked, it said, and then I didn't have function on my arm for about 2 years. A couple of surgeries, and, like, I was on workman's comp, so I was getting paid, but workman's comp is a fucking joke, yo. Like, I went from making $2,000 every 2 weeks, roughly, to making $232 a week. That was workman's comp. and it was rough. We wound up losing, like, we were renting a trailer. We lost the trailer, moved in with my mother-in-law, and like I couldn't help. I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't even really cut the grass. I lost the ability to pick up my children. Oh, and it took 2 surgeries, a couple of years of physical therapy, and a whole lot of pain pills to get through that. And pain pills, like that's what started me back. And like we had left the church because the church left us. And so after the surgery, uh, I really liked Lortabs. I liked them a lot. They were like pain. They were like cocaine, except I could get them from the doctor, and like he would give them to me all the time. Like, and so I would go and I was taking fucking Lortab 10. Like, I don't know. I think at one time it was like 8 or 9 a day by prescription. Like that's if I ate them right, and like that's a lot. And I knew how to play the game because my dad taught me. And so I would get them and I would just eat the shit out of them. I was eating 10s. Like, I swole up. Like, I got almost, I was about 250, 260, something like that. I swole up. I got big. And I was very unhealthy. And our life turned very unhealthy after that. But I got a settlement, right? After the 2 years, I got a settlement. We bought this house out, the first house out in Walker. And I finally got back to work. I was so happy to get back to work. I went to a steel shop up here. And then I went from the steel shop into Baton Rouge, and I was testing soils. I was working in the lab, running the lab, testing construction soils. And I was on my way home from that one day in the middle of a hurricane because there were some breaks that needed to be done. I went in. I really probably shouldn't have. But I went in because they needed to be done that day. When you have state work, they're very specific about when things have to be done. In order to do the compression testing on the concrete, right? What they do is they take a sample of it and then they put it in this machine and they crush it. And they see at what PSI it crushes. And that tells them whether they can open roads and stuff like that. So I went in and I did the brakes and I was on my way home and I got in a wreck. I got rear-ended on the interstate. I was part of a 4-car pileup. It was raining like a cow pissing on a flat rock. And there was an 18-wheeler in the right lane. And there was us 3 cars in the left lane. And the first car went to pass. And like we had distance between us. We weren't really speeding. But the 18-wheeler sheeted some water. And that first car hit the brakes. And the second car hit the brakes. And I hit my brakes. And everybody stopped. Except that guy back there. That guy back there was in an S10 pulling a trailer, and he never hit the brakes. He pushed us from the inside lane of I-12 through the outside lane, through the 10-foot shoulder, and 15 foot into the ditch. Me and the car in front of me. Pushed the engine of my car back 4 inches. Seatbelts and airbags save lives. But I've got 13 herniated discs. They're either severely bulging or severely herniated. 3 of them impinge my spinal cord. It's caused nerve damage. You'll see me shake every once in a while. So, once again, I lost my ability to provide for my family. And this time it was really rough because there's no surgery that can fix me. That was in 2011. It was September of 2011. And like, I'm just now at a point where I can really kind of function. And I've been hard working at it since then to get back to the point I'm at now. I can walk a whole mile without having to stop. That is significant to me. It takes me less than 30 minutes to walk a mile these days. That's significant to me because I have problems, right? But I lost my ability to do what I had done my whole life. I had been in construction or selling dope my whole life. So, Social Security. We lost our house over the first house we had here, and our neighbors across the street were kind enough to let us stay in her daddy's house. He had passed away. They weren't doing anything with the property, and they just wanted somebody to stay there. And so we did. For 2 years, we lived off their charity, and it was a wonderful blessing, and I tell them thank you every single time that I see them. But until Social Security came in, and right as they were about at the limits of their charity, which I do not blame them at all, Like, I seem like, if you see me, I don't seem like I'm messed up. It's like this dude's just laying out. But really, I'm not. Like, I bust my ass. I work harder than some people can. But if I cannot commit to you as an employer to be able to do what I say I'm going to do, then I'm not going to work for you. And I can't do physical things like I can on a short term basis. For an hour, maybe I can do something. And then I got to sit down for a couple. So it took away from my ability to do construction at all. I tried, even I got a job just walking around taking pictures, and that was too much. I couldn't commit to what they needed. So I got on Social Security, and we got the settlement, and I bought the trailer, and I was like, yes, this is mine. I own this trailer. And then we had to put it on somebody else's property because I didn't have enough money to buy the trailer, set it up, and buy a piece of property. And I couldn't get it financed because we just had the foreclosure on the house. And so I did. I bought the trailer. We got it set up in this nice trailer park. It was a really nice place. But the landlord was kind of an asshole. He made us build a porch, right before he sold the place. And he sold the place to this pastor. Now, this pastor, after he buys the place, comes around, tells everybody, all right, I'm turning this into a retirement community. You guys are too young to be here. We got notified that the eviction notice was coming the day before Thanksgiving. We got the actual eviction notice like the day before Christmas or 2 days before Christmas. And we got an injunction. They got us 2 weeks. And so we were there until January the 7th, I think. And this is right after the flood of 2016. That was when this happened, right? We had just survived the flood. The flood stopped 2 inches below the insulation on my trailer. And we survived the flood when everybody around us didn't. And I was like, man, we are blessed with that, right? And then we get the notice, and the day before Thanksgiving, and you knock on the door, and the guy's like, here you go. Like, are you kidding me? Anyway, so we fought it at town hall. We fought it, but the way the laws are written in Louisiana, the new owner can just come in and kick you out. We didn't have a freshly signed lease. We had been there for a couple of years, and he could do what he wanted with his property. So we had to go. But we had to find somebody to move the trailer because guess what? Everybody's booked up. Like every single trailer mover anywhere's around, booked up. So we found this cat out of Florida. And he come out and he hooked up to the trailer. Finally, it took him, he told us every day, I'm coming today, I'm coming today, I'm coming today, I'm coming today. And every day he wasn't there. And I'm like, look, guy, we have like 2 days to get off of this property. Anyway, he comes out, hooks up to the trailer at night, which guess what? You're not supposed to do. Goes to pull the trailer off, drops off the slab. Like he's supposed to come out with the machine that lifts up the back end and walks it out. Because the ground, we're in the silt, right? That's in the whole city of Walker is a big silt bowl. Because we used to flood all the time. So he's supposed to get the walker thing out there. Well, he doesn't do that. He just pulls up, hooks up to the trailer, goes to yank it out. The trailer falls off the slab into the silt and tilts at like a 70-degree list. You could literally walk on the walls in the trailer. And leaves it like bales. Poof. We wound up having to sue him to get the money back, but then I have to find somebody to move the trailer. We move the trailer, get the trailer over here, get it set up. No, we don't get it set up. We get it in spot. Can't get anybody to set it up. It's got to come up because of the new floodplain. It's got to come up 6 feet, and I can't get nobody to block it. Nobody. Everybody's booked. Everybody's booked for months. We have nowhere to live. And so we move in with my father-in-law. Now, my brother-in-law lives with my father-in-law already in a 2-bedroom apartment. So it's me, my wife, my 2 kids, my 3 dogs, my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law in a 2-bedroom apartment. And then one day my dogs get loose, and I'm going to have to get back to this. Alright, welcome to the life of Pitt. That phone call, that was my dad. He's at the hospital. He had an incident this weekend where he had a little bit too much medication and lost his damn mind. Wound up in the middle of the parking lot in the middle of the night. They got him to the hospital, and he was severely dehydrated, and now he's feeling better, and he's cantankerous and wants to come home, despite the fact that they're trying to make sure he's all right. So I may get a call and have to leave in a few minutes, but hopefully we can finish this out. So anyway, we move in with my father-in-law, and my dogs, while we're walking them one day, gets out and attacks the neighbor's dog, and the neighbor calls the landlord, and the landlord's like, "I gotta go." And so we again are out in the wind. But we had somebody step up, a friend, stepped up and let us stay in his mama's trailer. And it took us about 6 months to find the house that we're in now. This particular period of time between the flood and when we got this house is extremely important. It strengthened my family in a lot of ways because, once again, we were homeless, but this time it was a lot more uncertain. I was driving 60 miles a day, roughly, between 60 and 100 miles a day, to bring my kids back and forth to school for 6 months so that they can continue to be stable in the schools they were in. Because these schools are great. But that time really served to bring us closer as a family and closer to God. We spent those days listening to K-Love. If you don't know K-Love, they're a wonderful Christian radio station that is entirely user-supported. And I took the K-Love 30-day challenge, and it was like 10 years before I was listening to anything else, because the positivity that comes out of K-Love is great. They miss a lot of music. There's a lot of things that are really suspect in the selection of the music, and like I do have some problems there, but for the most part they serve a wonderful ministry. They were there for me in some very dark times. And The Eye of the Storm is a particularly good song for us, because when we were homeless and we were staying in someone else's home, we had a storm come up. And I went out, and that was my first time singing in the storm. I sang The Eye of the Storm in the storm while I was homeless, surrendering to God, finally. I doubled down. I started meditating. I was still smoking cigarettes. I was still smoking weed. I still smoke weed because it's my pain relief. I don't do opioids. Not for addiction issues like that. That's behind me. I don't do that. But one of these days, I'm going to have to take opioids again. Like, it's coming. I can feel it. And every single day, I have to tell myself it's not today. Because every single day, it's a little bit rougher right here. And that's God keeping me humble. Because if I was whole, if I could, and tomorrow I was miraculously healed, I would have a hammer in my hand and I'd be building some shit somewhere. Like, you wouldn't catch, like, everybody, ain't nobody wants to work. I want to work. I'm just not dependable. Like, there are times where I just have to lay down for a while. Anyway, this brought me closer to God. And all of my life, I have questioned it. And my grandma that took me in was very, very in church. She went to a Second Baptist, or it was First Baptist in Zachary. I think I kept calling it Second Baptist. My grandma went to Second Baptist. We went to First Baptist. And she bounced between there and several of the Pentecostal churches in the area. So when I was there, we went to church on Sundays. And so I grew up with that, and I always questioned it. I remember asking my mama to bring me to church, and she wouldn't do it. And then later she went, and that's how I got back in it. But I searched and I questioned. I'm a questioner. I'm not satisfied with answers. I need to know the whys. I need to know the whats. And so I dug and I did, and I doubled down on my meditation. I doubled down on the processes by which you can achieve enlightenment. And I achieved what I needed to. I met with God. He took me personally on a tour of the universe, right? And God is not a he. God is just there. God is. But he took me, and I use he because it's the familiar term, but he took me and made me realize the interconnectedness of everything. And it changed a lot of things in my life. It pulled hate out of my heart in very real ways. I've talked before about the racism, and like, I grew up, racism was not a stranger in the house I grew up in, but it was in my house, in the house that my kids grew up in. They didn't know that type of thing, and that was intentional. But I did that intentionally, but I still felt the other way a lot of the time, because it is easy to blame the unknown. And so I did. I blamed the unknown. And I was very much never a white nationalist, because I'm not white. I'm mostly white, but I'm a mutt, right? My peoples are the oppressed peoples. All of the other oppressed peoples, the Native Americans, the Irish, the Cajun, like, that's my people. And so I'm prone to addiction, yeah, bud, I got you. Prone to anger, oh yeah, I got you. Like, that's my whole genetic makeup. I call myself a red ass because I'm half redneck and half coon ass, right? So anyway, before I get off on that, I forgot where I was at. Let's see. Oh, I found God, right? And it changed my life. He pulled that hate out of my heart, because once you realize that this God who is holding you right now, whose power is completely filling every single pore of your body, created all things. Like, all things. Not just me, and not just you, but everything that surrounds you, and everything that's between you and something, is Him. That is God. And if you can come to that, like, if you find that, because I can tell you that, you hear that and you dismiss that. You hear that and you fit that into the framework of the religion that you were grown up in. But it is beyond that. Like, I worship the God, He who is, was, and is, always will be. He has several books of wisdom scattered around. None of them are to be taken completely and totally as written, because all of them have been written with an agenda in mind. That pissed somebody off, and that's cool, because the way to change is through anger, right? Let's start bringing this home. So, you've gotten a back view of me. I like to work. I like to grind. I'm not as capable as I like to be, but this is my grind, right? Me talking to you about my issues gets to be my grind. I get to help you by talking about shit that bothers me, because some of that shit bothers you too, and you can identify with that. And somebody needs to be out here saying that. So I take what I do very seriously. Like, I don't take me seriously as a personality. I'm a guy with fucked up teeth. I'm a guy that's got a broken fucking back, who's dealt with addiction and depression and suicide and all of this fucked up shit. But that's okay, because the purpose of our entire life is the struggle. That is the tip. Just the tip. This is just the tip, right? Just the tip. Life is the struggle. And so you wanted a tip. You wanted to know how to do this. I'm going to tell you how I pulled myself out of that depression. The depression of not being able to provide for anybody in my life in the slightest of ways. I was so fucking broken at that point in my life, physically and mentally, that I was ready again to just say fuck it. I was going to leave my kids without. I was going to leave my wife without and just go. Home or not, just go, because I was just fucking done. Right? It fucking sucks. Right? To be a man and not be able to provide for your children at all. To not be able to pick up your children or throw a fucking baseball. fucking sucks. But there's a purpose to it. The purpose is that I get to tell you about him. And that is what I'm about, right? We're about bringing people closer to the one true God. I don't care what name you throw on him. I don't care what gender you throw on him. He is beyond all of that. But your life is the experience. And if I had not been through all of that shit, then I couldn't talk to you like I'm talking to you right now. I couldn't talk to you like somebody who knows what the fuck you're going through. Because I do. I don't know your current personal situation, but I guarantee you I've been pretty fucking close. Right? At some point, my shitty life has been close to your shitty life. And so we can connect on that level. And that's what we do here. You want tips on how to change your life? Jordan Peterson says it very well. You find the toughest fucking thing that you can handle, and then you fucking handle it. Right? What's the hardest fucking thing that you can do? That you will do, and you fucking do it. That's it. Take it in small chunks though. Like, you don't have to do the hardest fucking thing right off the bat. Take the hardest thing and break it into chunks, and then take the hardest chunk and break that into chunks. Like, whatever it takes to get the small steps, because the small steps add up. After we got in this house, right, and I met God in a very, very real way. Like, when we were homeless is when I really changed. Like, I really committed to it, and I really changed. I wrote a book, right? I wrote a book, and it wasn't great. It's available on Amazon, and it's not great. It's got a good storyline. I'm just not very good at the details. I'm not good at filling in the shit that people really want to know. You want to know what that fucking chest over there looks like? I don't give a fuck. There's a chest over there. And so it's very sparse. It's a very direct book. But it deals with a lot of the shit that we talk about here. I hope not. I hope you're past the fucking word. Like, I don't mean that with animosity. And I used it in context the right way. To show something. Not just for the fuck of it. Because I won't do that. I don't say things that hurt people on purpose. Ever. I don't give a fuck about the word. You can call me whatever you want. I don't care. Somebody's going to call me a racist because of what I just said. But I don't care. Because I know I'm not. And so I'm good. But I wrote this book. And it was shitty. But I put it on Amazon because it was the smallest fucking step I could take. It's all I could do. I got to sit down most of the day anyway. So I wrote a fucking book. But I suck at it. Like, I couldn't even edit it good. But I got it out there. I made myself put it out there. I wrote a couple of screenplays. I got a couple of them, and they're actually not bad. They're not great, but a screenplay is a different format. There's a lot less description in a screenplay, and that's my wheelhouse. So I've got a couple of really good screenplays, and they deal with a lot of the issues that we're dealing with right here. Because this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the emotions. I want to talk about overcoming. I want to talk about God a lot. And maybe this last little bit was to teach me a lesson. Because what I got hit over, I knew, I said in the video, I probably shouldn't put this on YouTube, and I knew better. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff that just doesn't make it to YouTube. Because I'm still going to talk about what the fuck I want to. I'm still going to do Lowe's Alexander, despite the fact that he gets me banned. I'm still going to do Lucas Lyon, despite the fact that he gets me banned. I'm just going to go where they're not going to ban me. So anything that deals with anything other than the depression or the addiction problems, I'm just going to put elsewhere. I'm going to give y'all on YouTube, well, y'all might not see this on YouTube, but probably not. But YouTube's going to get what YouTube needs to feed YouTube's algorithm, so that I can bring people over to the real discussion elsewhere. Salty is focusing on, where's my thingy? Over here. Focusing on Rumble. And I can understand that because their monetization scheme is kind of similar to YouTube's, but not really. It's a little bit wonky. I'm actually focusing more on Odyssey. because the interface is a lot smoother, a lot smoother. And the search is a lot better, and the interaction between people is a lot better. I actually get notified about fucking comments on Odyssey. Odyssey is doing a lot better as a platform. And so I'm focusing there, but it's still going to go up on Rumble and BitChute. We're still going to talk about shit. It's just going to be a lot less shit on YouTube. And I'm going to have to feel a lot less guilty about that, because the people I want to reach and the people I want to touch and talk to are all still over there. Hey, that's the craziest thing, right? It's whatever, bro. I've done some gay shit. Get over it. It's whatever. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. If y'all... Jordan Peterson really did help change my life. Just the fact that he helped me to realize that life is about the struggle. It really is. It is about the growth that you have from the struggles you have. You can't just enjoy your blessings. You gotta have growth. It was the worst sickness of my life. I really got sick. I could barely breathe. I couldn't walk from here to the other side of my house, and I do not have a big house, without having to stop to breathe. It was really bad. I thought it was, but fortunately I had quit smoking, and that's when I decided to start walking. That's when I found Jordan Peterson. Was at the same time when we moved in this house, because when we were homeless, we didn't have any fucking internet. Like out there was no cell phone. Like it literally, like you had to drive 10 miles to pick up a cell tower to call somebody. So, but when I got back into town and we got internet, I found Jordan Peterson. And I had just found, like really found God. Like I had found Jesus, and that relationship was great, and it brought me to God. But when I found God, when I found the Father himself, it really just changed my life. It really did. And so, let's go ahead and just wrap this up. This is getting really, really long. And the tips for how to do this, right, is to, the number one thing I'm going to tell you to do is to really find God. And you say the prayer. We've said the prayer many times. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you as a sinner. I freely accept the grace that you have freely extended to me. And I ask you to change my life to what you want it to be. That's as simple as it can possibly be. That is all that it takes. And he will come in and change your life. If you really mean that, the Spirit will feel you. You will feel it crawling out the back of your neck and down your shoulders. It's real. Everybody calls it goosebumps. That's the Spirit talking to you. And when it fills you, you get this elation. It's great. And once you do that and you realize that you are a part of everything, then you have to find your part in everything. You find the hardest thing that you can possibly do and you do it. The first hardest thing I could possibly do was write the book. Like, I started walking because that was the hardest thing I could possibly do. It was hard for me to walk. And so I started walking, but it took me a really long time to get to where I'm at. 2.5 years to get to where I'm at, where I can walk a whole mile without having to stop. Right? And so that was the hardest thing. And quitting smoking was the hardest thing. But I pick my hardest thing and I fight that one battle at a time. And if it's too big of a step, when I quit smoking, for 2 weeks before I quit smoking, I spoke it into existence. For 2 weeks before I lit the first cigarette, and every cigarette, I said, I don't want this fucking thing. I don't want this fucking thing. I don't want this fucking thing. And I would light it up and I would smoke it. But by the end of that, I really didn't want the fucking thing. And when I lit that last one and I finished that last pack on it was the day before Father's Day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And my Father's Day gift to my children in 2019 was a healthier father. Because I don't have that. And my kids do. Pick your hardest thing. It doesn't have to be the hardest thing, but it has to be The hardest thing that you can do, because you have to have purpose. It can't be to sit around and play video games. As much as I love to do that, it can't be that. It can't be to just sit around and watch TV. It doesn't have to be to change the world. My current hardest thing is to talk about my emotions to people I don't even know. To talk about some shit that I really, really am very uncomfortable talking about. With people I don't know, that I've never met. That's my hardest thing. And every single day, y'all get to help me achieve my hardest thing. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. To the group, thanks for hanging out. I know this has been a long one. And if you made it through to this part, you're a champ. I appreciate. I really do. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me. And I am praying for you every single day. Sometimes more than once. Like, until next time, this has been Pitt's Tape. Peace.